6 reasons the 70s were the best decade to grow up in. Because nothing says character building like riding in a car with no seatbelts and brown vinyl everything. Let's set the record straight. If you grew up in Australia during the 1970s, you didn't just grow up, you survived an era. No helmets, no hand sanitizer, and somehow we all lived to tell the tale and complain about how today's kids have no idea. While each generation claims their decade was the best, we reckon the 1970s take the lamington. From the music to the fashion to the freedom, here's why growing up in the 70s was the ultimate Aussie adventure. 1. The freedom, aka where are your parents? In the 70s, childhood came with an unmatched sense of freedom. Kids roamed the neighbourhood like semi-feral possums. We left the house after brekkie, turned up again at dusk, and no one batted an eyelid unless you missed dinner. There were no mobile phones, no GPS tracking, and definitely no playdates scheduled via Outlook calendar. You just rocked up at your mate's place, knocked on the door, and hoped their mum had cordial. It was an era where scraped knees were badges of honour, and the words "come home when the streetlights turn on" were practically law. 2. The music was, and still is, bloody brilliant. If you didn't sing into a hairbrush pretending to be Susie Quattro or twist the volume dial up for skyhooks, did you even grow up in the 70s? The decade gave us AC/DC Sherbet, ABBA, Queen, Fleetwood Mac, and John Paul Young's Love Is in the Air, still a floor filler at weddings today. There were countdown appearances, flared jumpsuits, and more hairspray than an entire Bunnings aisle. And let's not forget the joy of making a mixtape, or taping the top 40 off the radio while yelling "shut up" at your siblings so you didn't record their voices over John Farnham. 3. Fashion was confident. The fashion. Bold. Brave. Slightly flammable. We're talking flared jeans, paisley shirts, crocheted vests, and colour combinations that should have come with a warning label. Every Aussie kid had at least one pair of brown corduroy pants, a t-shirt with some weird cartoon animal on it, and, if you were lucky, a pair of Dunlop volleys for PE. Did we look ridiculous? Often. Do we care? Not a bit. The 70s taught us to embrace self-expression, even if it involved wearing orange and avocado green at the same time. 4. The TV was limited, and that was a good thing. Back then, there were only a handful of channels, but they were quality. Young Talent Time, Skippy, The Paul Hogan Show, and the iconic Auntie Jack, who threatened to rip your bloody arms off, and somehow became a national treasure. Saturday mornings were for cartoons, and Sunday nights were for roast dinners and watching The Wonderful World of Disney, usually with one dodgy TV antenna and someone holding the rabbit ears in just the right spot. Because there wasn't much on, we played outside more. Imagine that. 5. Toys that required imagination and sometimes band-aids. Before iPads and battery-operated everything, we had toys that made you think and occasionally bleed. Remember clackers? 2 hard plastic balls on strings you'd try to smash together until they shattered, or your knuckles did. Or the slip and slide that doubled as a training ground for future Olympic divers, and backyard bruisers. Lego sets came without instructions, Meccano taught you how to build wonky bridges, and every Aussie kid had a hills hoist that doubled as the neighbourhood merry-go-round. Sure, we got hurt occasionally, but we also got creative, and a little bit invincible. 6. Life was simpler, and that was the whole point. No one cared about Wi-Fi speeds or step counts. You drank water from the hose, watched movies at the drive-in, and bought mixed lollies in paper bags for 20 cents, and got change. School lunches were wrapped in greaseproof paper, not organic beeswax cloth. We read comics, rode bikes without gears, and knew that screen time meant sitting 3 feet from a tube TV with a vertical hold issue. The world felt smaller, kinder, and more real. We had less stuff, and more fun. Final thought. We didn't just grow up, we grew tough, smart, and funny. Growing up in the 70s gave us resilience, independence, and stories that today's kids can barely believe. It was a time of rotary phones, Vegemite sandwiches, and backyard cricket until someone broke a window or a bone. And even though the haircuts were questionable and the sunburn was brutal, slip, slop, slap came later, it was a decade full of heart, laughter, and real-life learning. So here's to the 70s, the best decade to grow up in. No contest.